Do you have any personal space issues?
Well, I wasn't nervous about Comic-Con, except as it gets closer, everyone keeps telling me that it's just, they're like, get ready. Like, for what?
It is
like,
a
explain.
big deal.
Is it really?
Yeah. It's pretty overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's also, it's the most engaged audience you're ever going to come across in your life, truly.
Okay. Educated too.
Yeah,
like
passionate.
Like great questions. And...
In an odd way, because your show hasn't come on the air yet.
Yeah.
I think
we're screening the entire thing before our panel. It's gonna be exciting.
But even like you're, I mean, I'm certainly on Fringe. I experienced this. I mean, they digest these shows and live them in a way that I've never come across before. So next year when you go back, it'll be a different experience. But it's also just full on. I mean, all sorts of awkward-looking babies get made that weekend.
With capes.
Yeah.
I think you like live in a bubble when you're doing your show.
Yes. Wow. Oh wow.
And they're equally
intense.
Yes. Yeah. Don't have bad form. That's awesome. They all hate Orlando Bloom.
That's awesome.
Like they're all really mad at him. They call bad archery Legolosing.
Wow. Yeah, I'm sure you'll learn some vocabulary.
Wear a mask too.
Have any of you done the mask thing?
Be Darth Vader.
Everybody else is in a mask, so you might as well.
Yeah, you might as well. That would be kind of awesome.
Yeah.
If I see a buff Green Arrow walking around Comic-Con, I'm gonna know it's you.
You're hooded? Actually, I'm trying to get them. I want to the suit jacket is just like a leather jacket, so I'm trying to convince them to just let me wear it for the panel or something like that. Just wear it around a little bit.
There's no bridge too geeky. Like
I'm excited because
There's no fashion faux pas there.
You cannot.
I did read.
Except for the guys dressed like Wonder Woman.
I read comics a little, and they're starting their honeymoon at Comic-Con.
Oh my Lord.
With me, he's never been.
That's crazy.
So that's the exciting thing for me. We'll walk around with him. Yeah.
He's gonna freak out.
And it hasn't happened to me, but it's happened to Michael, or people will come up and say, well,
I don't think
I
any
just
of us
don't walk
can beat
over
that
there.
story.
Yeah, exactly.
Right now. That's amazing.
Yeah, will you kill me? People ask me to cuss at them a lot.
Really?
Yeah.
And do you?
Sometimes. Depends on what kind of mood I'm in.
I'm doing this for free.
I get everything from like, I walk away with like tons of socks.
That's
All
so
different striped socks and crazy socks.
I'll take socks over kitchen.
Some of them want to just take off their socks and give me their own socks, which is kind of a little strange.
You should talk to the writers and ask them to let your character wear Rolexes, and people are like, take it off.
Nice. That'd be nice, right? That's a good move. I should do that. I've always been afraid like someone's gonna attack you, like jump through the crowd or. Like,
Nobody wants to be the guy who gets stabbed at Comic-Con.
They really do.
I'm so happy to be on a Disney show right now.
Oh my God.
Actually, there was a guy in our panel. Somebody stabbed somebody with a Bic.
No.
Because people sit for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours waiting on these seats, and they basically squat, right? They'll sit through 4 or 5 panels they don't want to watch, and just to get to the one that they do. And in our hall, somebody got stabbed with a Bic. I don't know if it because they were waiting on Fringe or something after us.
Big pen.
Yeah, we were behind, and they're like, you can't go out now. There's been an incident. Like, what's the incident? Like, stabbing by Bic. What? Yeah, they had to drag him out, shut the hall down. So don't be that guy. You're not going to sleep between now and Comic-Con.
Like presents or objects, and you're kind of like,
yeah.
We don't know what exactly that is, and it's it can be anything, candles or like.
The baby thing I always find a little bit weird too. Like, here, hold my infant. I'm like, oh, that's not a good idea at all.
Someone sent me 2.
They're babies, like Lucy Lou. Just like, this is an interesting name for a baby when, there are different, it's, you don't really know what to say.
Nice
Lucy Lou, yeah.
On tattoos, they come up in like forearms. Their whole back is like me tattooed on their back.
kidding? Wow,
It's
that's
pretty
something.
crazy. Yeah, I mean, you kind of look at it and you're like, really? it's a big choice right there. I would never like tell them to stop.
I think it's awesome that that everybody has a thing. In fact, even though Comic-Con's so big now, one of the things that I think is so cool about the Comic-Con experience is it gives an outlet for when we were all growing up. If you were a comic book fan or a sci-fi nerd or Dungeons and Dragons, that was all in the basement. Like nobody ever talked about that because it wasn't cool. But this gives an avenue, a venue for them to not only meet like-minded people, but just to completely express themselves in any way that they want. And it runs the gamut from like bad spandex to the most like minute knowledge of really, really random bits of trivia from TV shows or games or whatever it is, I think that's kind of awesome. I mean, nobody's ever asked me to spank them in an interview, so that's less awesome.
You never know. You've got time.
Yeah, exactly.
You've got time.
I have something to look up to, something to look forward to.
Something to look
I
forward
heard that
to.
there's prom too. I heard there's like
There's a whole.
Yeah.
There's a party that they
Awesome.
call
That's
that.
really cool.
Yeah.
I can't believe I haven't been invited.
Yeah, exactly. Now it brings back all those terrible memories from high school. Like, great, I didn't get invited to that prom either.
First party?
I better not be because he's my boss.
Yeah,
and
I
if he
know.
hasn't
That's
invited
why.
me,
But
that's
maybe it was
embarrassing.
not. Maybe it's not him.
Who showed up when you did your PaceyCon thing?
Who showed up?
Yeah, like who were they all Dawson's Creek fans, or were they?
Oh no,
You had your own con?
wow. I sort of like, what would you call it? I photobombed Comic-Con one year as Pacey.
Awesome.
But to see Comic-Con fans try to like put together a Dawson's Creek character in Comic-Con, that's one place that they don't know. And like people are just like, who are you? What is this music? Stop it.
Cheryl Cole.
Yeah,
was not
no Wookiee,
popular.
no love. Yeah, so that I don't think anybody showed up, but they were definitely confused by what the fuck was going on. I did get arrested, which is always the high water mark for me.
Really?
Trying to bust into Comic-Con, the security guard was
I remember
not
that. Yeah,
having
that was the big news.
Yeah.
I remember showing up. It's like you got arrested. I'm
Yeah.
like, what did you get busted for? I'm like, I'll bail him out. What's the problem?
down
You just
like-
tried to get into Hall
I
H
tried
or
to-
something?
I let myself in, and they took me down to. They have a fake jail. They have a jail. at the
Was
bottom of
fake
the
the
convention
character.
center.
Dick
Building
Tracy's
women?
down there.
What's fake about it? Yeah.
Well, because they're rent-a cops, not real cops, so they can't really arrest you, but they just sort of like detain you and sequester you from the rest of the Comic-Con.
I can't believe this is just coming up. I feel like
And what other kind of people were there?
In jail.
There was nobody in jail.
Come on.
In a place
Wonder Woman
where you're
wasn't there?
allowed to carry swords and be in spandex, there really is not much you can do
you
apparently,
hate
other
spandex. That's twice that's come up.
Don't lie. You've seen some bad spandex there.
Yeah.
It's so true. People with bags bigger than them is a
Oh,
big
that's-
thing,
yes.
and then spandex in places it should never go.
Yeah.
So you obviously are on this heavily serialized genre show, and as are many of you. As you think about sort of what's next, is this a world you want to go back into? Or are you you had your fill, you've done your years of Comic-Con and this kind of intense audience?
I mean, I think once the story of Fringe is done, Fringe itself will be over. But the thing, you'll experience this more next year. Truly the coolest part of the entire experience, at least for me, is that because that audience is so passionate and intense, and the people who bother to show up and wait all those hours to be at the panels, it's a really rare thing for an actor to be able to interact with the people who are, taking in whatever the performance is, be it a TV show or a film, at the time that it's happening. Normally our job is done, and then if there's any response or feedback, you see sort of afterwards as people take it into their lives or digest it however they do. But when you're actually on these shows and you go back to Comic-Con as the thing is happening, like you said, it's quite invigorating to see how intense the people who self-select for that show, how much it means to them and how deeply they're willing to spend time thinking and sort of absorbing those shows. So for that, I would happily do that. I mean, that part of the Comic-Con and sci-fi, world has actually been incredibly rewarding. It's a really rich experience.
Would you do another genre show?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know. We're all actors here, but I don't know any actor who would ever say, that's it, I'm done. I would never work in that X, Y, or Z ever again.
But there are risks. I mean, there are certainly advantages and disadvantages, and I think having knives at your house probably falls in the category of disadvantage.
Yeah,
Or perhaps
yeah.
But you mean like
they were nice knives.
you mean like being typecast?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. You get
Also,
typecast because you do it and you do it
let's
well.
be real here. I mean, we have a guy sitting here who is kind of one of the gods in these halls, and it didn't slow you down at all from, I agree with you, like if you're working, it's not typecasting, but also good for anybody for creating a character or being a part of a show or a film that creates a character that leaves a mark. Yep. Right? And if you're bad and you can't do anything else, then maybe you should be so lucky as to be typecast. But if you're good and you keep on changing and growing, then good for you.
Exactly right.
Is there a clear hierarchy down there? I mean, yes.
Oh, hell yeah. You can be modest, but oh, hell yes.
No, I was really fortunate. I mean, and that would be the end of the series. Who knows what really would happen?
That would probably not happen on Fringe. So what do you know? Do you have an idea of how you'd like to see it end?
I do. My show being what it is, I can't tell you. But because this is our last season, we have a really distinct what I hope people will think is a cool, but I think is a very cool wrapping up of the entire series.
So you've been told how it's going to end.
This year, the Joel Wyman, who's our executive producer, has been kind of shockingly forthcoming because our show is pretty impenetrable usually, but this is the last year. He's like, I guess it's a new leaf. He was like, I want everybody engaged. I want everybody to know exactly what they're doing. It's a really, because we're only doing 13 episodes, the story itself is really finite. So there's sort of, you're going to start here, then you go there, then you go here, and then we're done. So he brought everybody in, and so I have a really good idea, I think, of where the show's
You're not
gonna end.
leaving this room until
What is
going back to jail.
And
UFO involved?
there's lots. It's lots. It's big. It's big, and then it's sort of, in the way, because there's no good way ever to end the show, because you're not necessarily going to piss somebody off, because part of what's fun about a television show is that people get to fill in the gaps for themselves of who these characters are and the stories that we don't get to see. But once you come to an ending, you sort of tell them where those characters finish up. That being said, I think, it's a big, massive sci-fi set piece, the ending, but with a really important and sort of finale-esque emotional center to it. I sound like a producer now, but it is true.
Did you get to weigh in on?
Yeah,
on
like I said, he's been incredibly forthcoming, but also open. I think all the actors, you live with these characters for so long, we all have our ideas of who we want these people to be, or where we'd like to see them end up. And I think, not just for myself, I think for everybody, he was more than willing this year to listen just for ideas, to sort of glean where everybody is and where they want the characters to finish up. Because we know it's a really unusual thing to know going into the last year. Mm-hmm. So there's no more, you don't have to leave any doors open, you don't have to leave this is it, that's the end. And it's really very freeing.
Do you have ideas about how Dexter should end?
I do, but I don't want to say them because I have a